All right, good morning and welcome to our bi-weekly webinar. It is good to have you on the webinar today. We appreciate you spending some time with us, taking time away from your day to learn about a really interesting topic. May in general is about college planning. So today we're going to talk about 10 ways to save for college. The next webinar 2 weeks from today is going to be more specifically on 529 plans. That is the college savings plan that is really specific for college planning. It has its own set of rules. It has its own viability. And so we're going to dedicate, it happens to be our webinar is on 528, May 28th, but it happens to be 529 planning. So we're very close. We tried to, we try so hard to coordinate all this, but the calendar sometimes just doesn't work out, So, but anyways, we want to welcome you coming off a great weekend. Mother's Day weekend. Wow, happy Mother's Day to all of you out there. What a great weekend weather-wise. Hopefully you had a chance to do what you wanted to do on your special day. Hopefully there was a little bit of pampering going on as well. So we want to just acknowledge all the mothers out there. We appreciate you. You probably have the hardest job of anybody out there. So thank you very much for what you do for the families. We appreciate you very much. So today we are going to talk about 10 ways to save for college. Not always saving, if you will. There's other ways to do it. Scholarships, grants, financial aid, loans, savings. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that we're going to talk about it today. And we're excited. We have the team with us today, and we're going to present a lot of great information for you all. And hopefully there's a nugget or two that you can take out of here that you can apply to your scenario, to the grandkids scenario, to a family member, to a friend, a niece and nephew, whatever the case is. Hopefully there's something that you can pick out of here. So let's get started. As you know, we like to go big. So we're going to hear from the team about what their gratitude statement is. And of course, when we hear from you, or if you'd like to share it in the comments section, we love to hear what your go big is as well. So mine is my birthday. Got to spend Monday celebrating my birthday. So it usually falls on Mother's Day, but this year was one day later. So I'm grateful that I actually got acknowledged after 45 years. I actually had one day. No, I'm just joking. But I want to say thank you for all the teammates that reach out to me, friends, family, clients. Appreciate you. Made me feel special. My gratitude goes out to being able to spend another year with you all, and we really appreciate you and what we are able to do together. So, Zach, how about yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Ken. Today, I'm just extremely grateful for all the timeless pieces we've accumulated over 30 years of helping people retire. It helps make the uncertain times certain. After navigating a lot of different market scenarios over the last 30 years, we know what to do, but also more importantly, what not to do. In the last month, and what we'll touch on here in a little bit as well, is just sticking to the timeless pieces to avoid making very large mistakes within a financial plan. The economies and markets cannot be forecasted or timed. The best time to put money in is when you have it, and the best time to take money out is when you need it. And just whenever we get the reaffirmations of those timeless pieces, it's something that we celebrate here behind the scenes, and just extremely grateful for all the learning over the last 30 years.
Yeah, very good, Zach. Appreciate that. It's amazing what like 3 weeks can do in the market, right? It's really kind of crazy to think about how things change very rapidly and very quickly. So always good to stay the course. Lauren, how about yourself? What are you grateful for? She's also going to be presenting the Gentian happenings later today as well.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. I have to be grateful for the weather. It's May, we made it through winter, and I'm just looking very much forward to getting out on the golf course and practicing my golf game.
All right, there you go. Hey, best advice, hit it straight. That's the best advice I can give for you, Lauren. So we would appreciate that. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Ashley, how about yourself?
Thank you, Ken. I'm just grateful coming off of a wonderful weekend, being spoiled by my family, but then also getting to host my family for Mother's Day at our house on Sunday. So I didn't really take the day off on Sunday, but I got to enjoy the company of both my sisters and their families, as well as my mother-in-law. So just enjoyed a beautiful day together.
Very nice, Ashley. There's nothing relaxing about hosting a party, that's for sure. That's making sure the chips are refreshed, the fruits refreshed, right? Everything, right? So appreciate you very much, Ashley. Michael Birschbach, how about yourself?
Thank you, Ken. My gratitude today goes out to all the mothers out there. I'm very grateful I got to spend Sunday with mine, and hope all of you got the opportunity to do the same. Did some fishing, grilled out, just spent some time outdoors. Now, as Lauren mentioned, that we finally made it through winter. So grateful for that this morning.
Sounds like some great family time, Michael. Appreciate you as well. Mike Mann, how about yourself?
Thanks, Ken. Of course, grateful for my mother. It was actually her birthday yesterday. And of course, on Sunday, I got to share my day of the week, right? Sunday with my mother on her Mother's Day. I'm sorry. I heard Ashley say it and it just stuck in my head. And without Chris here, I figured I'd step in. But yeah, incredibly grateful for my mom. She's just turned retirement age, right? And so for her to be excited to move into that point in her career, I won't say the actual number because that is a floating target for whoever we may be talking to. Also grateful for technology. So kind of a cool thing that we're starting to do, and something that I have rolling right now, is my meeting note taker here. So it's going to take a summary of all of this, of what we've gone through. And it's something that you might see us introducing in some of your meetings with your consent, of course. It's something to help us stay a little bit more present, be able to focus more on you and the conversation, and not necessarily typing away on our computer or scribbling notes down along the way. So something that we're excited to bring. Always evolving, always trying to get better. And this is something that's going to help us do it. So back to you, Ken.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. That was a good dad joke you had there Sunday. That was pretty good. So, well, here we are talking about college planning. I think that was that the whole team. I think we got everybody there that was on. Yes. Okay, good. Don't want to miss anybody. But today we're going to talk about college planning, of course, and we're going to kick it off. I do have to kick it off with a dad joke about some financial aid. Why did the student bring a ladder to the financial aid office? Because they heard the tuition was going through the roof. So there we go. We're going to kick it off with that. Maybe a smile on your face right now. How can we alleviate some of that pressure, some of that, what we think is a mountain of costs going into college planning? How can we do this? Do we start early? Which maybe some vehicles of how to save money, maybe some scholarship planning. So with that being said, what we're going to do is going to kick it off. Zach is going to talk about the markets a little bit like he usually does, and then he has a few pieces on college planning as well. Zach.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. Just kind of reaffirming some of those timeless pieces over the last month. Very evident why we own different asset classes, why we diversify depending on your specific financial plan. If there's bonds involved, they help keep things rather level during a very uncertain time. And then also the impact of rebalancing was extremely important to start the year, and also any rebalance that occurred last year as well. But just going through the different indices like we normally do, the Dow Jones is temporarily down about 1% on the year, but about a 5% increase since April 16th. The S&P 500 is actually positive now for the year, which is the 10% gain in just the last 3 or 4 weeks since April 16th, since that webinar. The NASDAQ temporarily down about 1.5%, but that actually had the biggest gain of all the different indices, and actually up 13% since April 16th. So that's heavily weighted towards technology. There's been some really good earnings reports and various things that came out with, what was viewed as good news for the tariffs really impacted some of those technology companies in a very positive way. The Russell 2000, those smaller size companies, temporarily down about 5, almost 6%, but a 10% gain since April 16th. International, still the best performing asset class, and this comes to the timeless piece of being diversified and owning those different asset classes. International is up over 12% on the year, and a 7% gain still since April 16th. And emerging markets, which is lagged behind for really the last 5 or 6 years, is the second best performing asset class looking at these different indices, and is actually up over 7% and a 7% gain since April 16th. So even though we're talking about education, just wanted to highlight those and kind of give you the good news of how great the last 2 weeks were. And it's just amazing and a great reminder to be weary of the news, because 4 weeks ago it was not positive. 2 weeks ago it was not positive. And now there's a big shift, and it's kind of again back to the greed mindset where, oh my gosh, things look great, the bull market is back, where we kind of keep this level-headed nature of there's going to be volatility ahead. We have an annual intra-year downturn of 14% since 1980, and we're always ready for 20 or 30% correction. So while we celebrate the last month, we are always ready for more downward temporary volatility in the short term here. And then just to touch on a few different pieces in the spirit of college savings, the guys will go through a few different vehicles and a few other ways to save, but a few things that were top of mind recently that we've heard through various meetings, either planning for children or grandchildren, is just be aware that not all universities are the same. They have different rules, different procedures, different things that they promote to attract students to their campuses. And taking a look at the difference between in-state and out-of-state, there's some with, if you're domiciled here in Wisconsin, there's some reciprocal in-state tuitions, even though they're located out of the state of Wisconsin. And also even just little ideas and tricks of potentially the student becoming a resident of that state. Some schools don't allow it or don't promote it, but we've heard of some recently where they actually give a step-by-step guide of how the student can become a resident of the state, which saves $10,000 to $15,000 a year in this case that we looked at. So a very, very large money saving one. And the last one that we've come across over the last few weeks as well is just depending on the child's scenario, either your child or grandchild, taking some college courses while you're in high school allows them to test out of some of those general education courses, which could save upwards of a full year of tuition, which depending on the school could be $10,000 to $30,000 saved there as well. So with that, Ken, I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Zach. A lot of good stuff there. Really wonderful, good piece there. Interesting about this, sometimes these students, they end up going out of state somewhere. Maybe down south was an example. I won't be specific on the college, but the idea was to say, hey, if my child or grandchild is going to be going to school in this area for 4 years, maybe even 6, depends on graduate school, right? Why don't we just buy a condo there and do that sort of thing? And in some states that's allowed, some colleges that's allowed. For this particular one, a very prominent college, it actually wasn't allowed. You have to be living there. You can't just do that for like an investment sort of thing. So there's always rules, there's always tricks of the trade, if you will. Some allow it, some don't. So just really doing your homework before trying to commit to something like that is always a really good idea. So appreciate that, Zach. Great information. Like I said, amazing what like 3 or 4 weeks does in the market. So let's move on here. Let's bring in Mike Mann for Mike's Minutes. I have a feeling it's gonna be a little longer than a minute today, as Mike has a lot of information he loves to share. It's always very timely and always very interesting. Mike Mann.
Cool. Thanks, Ken. And it's kind of the irony of saying going and doing your homework on federal student aid. I don't know. I'm on a roll today, apparently. So with this being said, one of the things that I do want to bring up is some of the resources that exist out there when you're learning a little bit more about this and your child attending college. And this is something that I'm incredibly passionate about. I mean, going through it myself and continuing the repayment of making those decisions and how we approach things in the future to be smart with things financially. And much like some of the conversations that we talk about around mortgages, things like that, about maintaining debt and smart debt, there could be the opportunity with something similar with student loans. So don't just jump out of your chair to just pay these things up front sometimes. Look at the opportunities that you have. And I want to talk a little bit about FAFSA. The free application for federal student aid, FAFSA, the word I want to highlight on there is free. It is something that is open to everyone. And one of the stipulations, I want to talk about 3 things with FAFSA. One of the stipulations out there is that I make too much money for my child to receive any sort of aid. Well, could that be true? Maybe. But is it still worth applying? Absolutely. No matter what, you should always apply for FAFSA, regardless of whatever predisposition you may have about what might be available to them. For one, it's free. You don't have to pay anything to do this. And for 2, you might not know what you get. And the only way to get federal student loans, which in a lot of interest rate environments is the best student loan to be able to obtain for your child, is by applying. So that's the only way to weigh that cost savings that you would have, is to know what your options are. And the only way to know what those options are applying. Please apply for FAFSA. The second one is to apply early. For a child going off to college for their first semester, you want to apply before October of their senior year of high school. Now, the rule of thumb used to be by tax time, but the reason being why we want to apply early is because not only does the federal and state look at FAFSA for student aid, also individual colleges look at this. And as far as the college grants, the different things that they can do for you, a lot of times those are first come, first serve basis. So you want to apply early. It's very important to do so. It's also just a great habit to be in, to be able to get that taken care of right away. The last rule is to apply every single year. You never really know. You don't want to just do it going into that first year. You want to apply every year. So if we say October by the senior year, apply again by October of that freshman year of college. I know it sounds ridiculous. You would have applied for FAFSA twice and you're barely a month into school, but still do it. Financial scenarios change. Things happen. You never really know. The great example would be COVID. A lot of people got laid off through COVID. Financial scenarios changed, right? If you were a freshman in high school, or a freshman in college, I'm sorry, in 2019, then you're a freshman that now in your sophomore year here. And let's say your parents, something changed, whatever that looked like. Maybe an early retirement came up and now incomes changed significantly. There's changes that happen. You want to make sure your financial scenario is tracked. And then that opportunity might be there for you to be able to get more student aid going forward. The last thing is the student should be the one applying for FAFSA. Please, parents, help them out. I mean, obviously, they're going to need to know the financial scenario, things like that, that they're putting that information in. Great habit to have them do it. Everybody wants to do things for their kids, right? I'm grateful that my mom did it for me. Actually, reflecting on it, I wish I would have done it myself. Anyways, besides that point, last thing I want to bring up with all of this, scholarships. I mean, there's many resources out there to be able to find a scholarship for your child, for them to be able to look out for one for themselves. Grandparents, bring this up to your grandkids. The internet is such an awesome resource at this point in time. We talked about technology earlier. AI is integrated with so many different searches, even if you don't use something like ChatGPT. If you just type in best websites to find scholarships in Google, it is going to just give you a list to get to work and to be able to find different things to apply for and to really bring a little bit more spending power to the child and be able to save more money long term, and also save money out of your pocket too if you're planning on paying for them. You can actually reimburse scholarships out of 529 plans without a penalty if you are to, or if the child is to have a scholarship. So it's something to ask us about if that affects you in any way. But yeah, all that stuff. Didn't even open my fact set today. So I'm glad that Zach took care of talking about markets and looking at all of that. With a little bit more certainty in the market lately, we've been able to see a little bit of that rise. We know uncertainties on the horizon. We'll be there to help you navigate it. Thanks, Ken.
Appreciate it, Mike. Thank you very much. All good information there. And, you know, it's fun. We're talking about college planning and saving for college. There's also a balancing act to all this. And I know Zach, I think, was going to mention this, but I'm going to mention it as well, is that, you know, I know we want to help our children and grandchildren out. And this is the balancing act of life here, right? So it's one of these things where Mike's talking about loans. We talk a lot about retirement planning for yourselves here as well, right? So there's a balancing act. There's a fine line, as I always like to say, because you know you can't borrow your way through college. Now every family has their goals. Every family has what they would like to see happen, right? So this is more of a blanket statement, if you will. But you know, you can borrow your way through college, but you can't borrow your way through retirement. So this is a really important piece here to like get this balancing act down, right? Maybe there's college savings plans, but maybe also these loans that Mike is talking about really come into play as well. So all good stuff. Scholarships, by the way, this was recently brought to me here. This is maybe a year or two old, but I think it probably still applies. But when you look at scholarships, when you look at women's sports, the very common ones are basketball, soccer, and volleyball. When you take a look at the ones that aren't so common, gymnastics, golf, women's golf, a lot of scholarships available for these areas. Also, when it comes to instruments, you know, there's a lot of people playing the flute, but there aren't as many people playing the oboe or the piccolo. So all of a sudden you get these really unique instruments. And if you're going to be in band, maybe that's a way to say, you know, follow your passion on what you love to play. But there are a few select instruments that don't get played as much. Maybe there's a reason for that. I don't quite know, but it does offer more scholarship opportunities as well. Great question in the Q&A. I'm going to briefly touch on it. Thank you, Jim. We appreciate what you're saying here. The student aid index, that gets a little complicated. That's not as straightforward as it can be. So the expected family contribution used to be the way that was taken into consideration of assets, especially 529 plans. The EFC stands for expected family contribution. And not to get too technical here, but about 5.64% of a 529 plan was really allocated and counted towards that on FAFSA. Now there's something called the student aid index. Easy for me to say, right? Student aid index. That more is more encompassing, if you will. So great point, Jim. We thank you for bringing that up. We'll go maybe further in detail on that on when we actually talk about the 529 plans, maybe in a few weeks. But thank you for bringing it up. We appreciate your input there. We're going to take a little pause from the college planning here. We're going to bring Ashley on just for a little change of pace here about what you could do to think about the dollars you spend and maybe how to rethink that. Ashley.
Yes, thank you, Ken. Yeah, so today I bring to you the concept of a 2-time investing rule. What is that, you may ask? Well, I'm going to share my screen with you all and give you some food for thought. So think about this rule as for every dollar you splurge on a luxury item, think about investing that same amount into a retirement account, an investment account. It's powerful because it encourages both financial balance as well as long-term wealth building. And it does that by encouraging, of course, mindful spending. It may make you pause for a second, consider whether or not that luxury purchase is worth it. If you're willing to invest that same amount of money into your investments, well, then of course it might be essential to you. So it also encourages building wealth alongside your lifestyle. So instead of letting luxury spending drain your finances, this rule ensures that every indulgence is matched by an investment, of course, in your future. So it also then encourages reinforcement of financial discipline. It creates a great habit of pairing both short-term gratification with long-term planning, obviously a key trait of very successful financial people. So again, this just promotes a balanced life. You get to both enjoy your money now and later without guilt or regret. So again, please share this with someone that maybe is going into college and has some extra money from graduation this summer, perhaps, or maybe is recently a new grad from college coming out, of course, this month and has a new job offer and has some extra money in their pocket. So just encouraging some healthy habits in the spending area, of course. Back to you, Ken.
Ashley, very good. Now, Lauren said she wanted to spend a little bit more time on the golf course this summer. So we did see the driver, the golf club in there, right? Now, a lot of people think that if you buy the latest and greatest $700 driver, that all of a sudden your ball's going to go that much straighter and that much further. It's not true, Lauren. So it's all about the swing. So don't go spend all this money thinking that you're going to be, this down the middle. Maybe you already are, but for so many people, I've learned that if I get this putter, I'm going to make that putt. If I get the new driver, I can drive it farther. That is not true. That is not true. And yes, indeed. So all fun stuff there. So when we talk about degrees that can be had or what you go to school for, here's one. So I heard this one the other day that someone was telling me that he said my son wants to major in art. I told him that's sketchy. There you go for that piece there. So hopefully it brings a smile to your face this early morning. So Michael Birschbach, how about yourself?
Thank you, Ken. Preparing for today, I wanted to really think deeply about what I wanted to talk about. And I think the biggest question we get from clients who are trying to help their children or grandchildren save for college is, how do I plan for this, especially when we don't know what college is going to look like 10, 15, or 20 years from now? I think it's important to think about options with this. It's not just saving for tuition. We're saving to give some flexibility down the road, whether that's college, trade school, or potentially something we haven't even imagined yet. Having money set aside opens doors and can reduce some of that financial stress later. 529 plans I won't get too much into, but on a basic level, the money grows tax-free inside those accounts and the distributions are tax-free so long as they come out for educational expenses. Let's talk about some of the flexibility. Starting in 2024, leftover or unused funds, there was an opportunity now that they can be rolled into a Roth IRA. There's rules and limits with that I won't go into today. Another big benefit of these 529 accounts is you stay in control of it, not the child. You can change the beneficiary if you need to, and it's a lot more flexible than most people think. If your child or grandchild that you're saving for doesn't go to college, it can be used for apprenticeships and trade programs, and those unused funds aren't lost. Again, you can ship that to another beneficiary or potentially roll those funds into a retirement account for them as well. I think one of the big things that we would encourage is to start early. Even small contributions make a big difference down the road. If it's $100 a month now, that's going to add up meaningfully over time. It's not about necessarily having the full college bill ready. It's building a cushion and support for the future for whatever they decide to do. But beyond the dollars that you're saving, you're also teaching your kids the value of planning, being intentional, and investing for the future. And that's a message that they're going to take with them for life. Back to you, Ken.
Hey, Michael, thank you very much. Great information as usual. We appreciate that. So a few more pieces I'm going to mention here before we hand it back over to Lauren so she can give the Gentian happenings for the month of May and probably a little bit beyond maybe. I recently got this one, and this has been something that was common. So Series double E bonds, Series I bonds as well. You know, all these are there. And these are a little bit older vehicles that were used to help save money for children. It's kind of like buying that whole life policy when the child is first born of $5,000. I mean, these are very common practices, and there's nothing wrong with them. It's just things change. There's evolution to all this, the way that we save money for children or grandchildren. Now, Series I bonds and Series E bonds, double E bonds. You know, as you know, those used to be kind of popular, and you bought them in $50 increments or $100 increments. And if you held them on for 20 or 30 years, your money would double. And a lot of that interest that was accruing gets deferred to the future when you actually cash them in. That's when we realize that interest, and we have to pay some taxes on that. When it comes to college planning, some of that deferred interest, if you will, can actually be tax-free, if you will, when certain things are met. Income limits, of course, for the person cashing them in. But if they're used for a higher education or a qualified educational cost, some of that interest can be tax-free that was deferring that we would have paid taxes on, but they can be used for tax-free higher education expenses. So if you do have some of those double E series, Series double E bonds laying around, those old ones, maybe in a shoebox, call us up. There's a website called treasurydirect.gov. It's a great way to take stock. It's a great way to see what you have. It's a great way to see if they're still earning interest or not. So I'm a little sidetracked on that piece, but it came up a few times in the last month or so. And I want to bring it to your attention to see, hey, maybe you have a few in the shoebox, pull those babies out, and let's see what those are actually, what they mean for you and your family. And maybe we could utilize a couple of those and see what that goes there. Now, there's also tax credits to be had too. So there's something called the American Opportunity Tax Credit. That's also an option to help offset some college costs as well. There's also the lifetime credit, lifetime learning credit as well. So there's income limits to all these as well. But again, there's ways to save. There's ways to offset some of these costs just by knowing about a few of these things. So if your tax preparer, maybe ask him or her, is there a way to save here? Or maybe even being prompted by TurboTax if you use that as well. So just some ideas there. We'll take a pause in the college plan. Yeah, Zach, of course.
Real quick, just wanted to answer a question that came in that's a phenomenal question. And the question is, are 529 set up by grandparents shielded from the FAFSA process or the financial aid process? It's a extremely good question. And the rules just changed 2 years ago. It used to be where a 529 wasn't included as an asset for the child, but any distributions from the grandparent owed 529 was counted as income for the child, which negatively impacted financial aid at a higher rate. But 2 years ago, they changed the rules. So it is back to being beneficial for a grandparent to own the 529, operated very similarly as a parent owning it. But those rules are very fluid, and just be aware of them as you continue to go along, that if those rules did change and it's a negative impact to be the grandparent owner, there may be ways where you can actually roll that into a parent-owned 529 before they get into age 18. But there's a lot of considerations of that with estate planning, gifting, and everything else. But phenomenal question there.
Yeah, thank you, Jake. We appreciate your question there, and Zach, great answer. We appreciate that as well. So let's turn it over to Lauren and let's hear what's happening here at Gentian.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ken. And don't worry, Ken, I'm not getting a new driver this year. Lessons first.
All
Then we'll
right.
maybe talk about that PXG driver. All right, so this month we have some fun events going on. Actually starting today, right after this, we have our health and wealth webinar with Michelle Norris. That topic today is top 10 tips for longevity. So that's going to be a good one. Then on May 21st, next week, Wednesday, that is our May birthday club. So if you haven't signed up for that yet, come on over and celebrate your May birthday with us. Monday, May 26th, we are closed in observance of Memorial Day. And then Wednesday, May 28th, that's our next bi-weekly video podcast. So we're talking about college savings today. The next topic is going to be around a 529 college savings plan specifically. So we'll go into more details on May 28th on a 529. And then Wednesday, May 28th as well, we have our Ladies and Gentian group getting together. The topic is garden pairings. So this is going to be at the Doty Farm. It's a hands-on workshop where we'll learn to pair and plant container gardens. You'll get all the tips and tricks to help your plants thrive. Just bring a 12 to 18-inch pot with you and you can RSVP on our website. And then a few future dates that you might want to mark your calendars for. June 28th, that is going to be our June birthday club. June 25th is our kids camp. So register your kids or grandkids. Looks like we're doing ages 7 to 14. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and register them as well. And then on Monday, September 8th, that's going to be our shred event at the Doty Farm. That's going to be a fun day to bring out all your paper that you've been saving throughout the year. Come on and shred it, and then you can bring your electronics as well. And that is all I have for events today.
Lauren, thank you very much. We appreciate that. That shred event is usually pretty popular, so that's always a fun one. All those banker boxes you have in your basements, I think there's a limit of 1 or 2. Your canvas bag. Ashley says there's two box limit, if you will, because there's a lot of people that come to that and shred a lot of information, but always good to, also bring your bags full of stuff, your electronics, old screens, old TVs, iPads that don't work anymore, right? The great way to grind them up and make sure we destroy all that data that's on there. So very good. We want to thank you very much for spending your time. We're 2 minutes over. We appreciate your patience. We appreciate you sticking with us today. Hopefully you learned a little bit about college planning, a little bit in general. Maybe you could take a few pieces away for you and your family, and that could benefit you. Of course, if you have questions, please give us a call, email us, ping us, somehow just get a hold of us. We'll be happy to walk through your scenario and really find out what the best strategy is for you and your family going forward. So from everybody here at the Gentian team and the Galactic headquarters here in Mequon, Wisconsin, we appreciate you being our client. We appreciate you and the stories you share with us. We appreciate you sharing a small part of your life with us. We really appreciate that. So thanks for all the introductions to your family and friends and people you care about. It really keeps Gentian going in a great way. And we really appreciate you. And if there's anything we can do for you, let us know. We're here for you. With that being said, enjoy the rest of your day and make it a great one. Thank you.